glass is chilled, the story is dark, and everything about these cases is a little too suspicious. Hi guys, hello lovelies, welcome back to this little series, Pour Me a Mystery, where we zip our way through strange disappearances, twisted timelines, and stories that leave us all asking one thing: what really happened? So tonight's drink is just basically sparkling water with sparkling. So tonight's drink is really just sparkling water with cherry juice that helps me sleep. I need this lately, and that's basically what I'll have. So grab your glass, get comfortable, and I will pour you a mystery. So before we get into today's case, however, a little disclaimer. As always, remember that these stories involve real people and real families. So I will separate confirmed facts and details from theories, and I'll avoid claiming anything as factual that does not appear reliable reporting, or it was not in any official records. That being said, let's into today's first case. But first, let me get another bit of this drink. I read in the comments that you guys enjoyed the sounds this glass makes, so here we go. Also today I'm trying this format whispering. Last time it was soft spoken, and maybe you can tell me what you prefer going forward. Okay, let's hop in today's first case. This one is a more widely known case. I would say people that are interested in strange disappearances may know this, actually. It's the case of Dennis Lloyd Martin, the boy who vanished during a family game. So Dennis Lloyd was 6 years old when he disappeared in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. He was from Knoxville, Tennessee, and in June of 1969 he went into the mountains with his father William Martin, his grandfather Clyde Martin, and his older brother Douglas. It was Father's Day weekend, and for the Martin family this trip was not unusual. So they had gone into the woods, specifically the Smokies, before. Hiking and camping in the park was part of their family life. Dennis was almost 7 years old. His birthday was only a few days away. On the day he vanished, he was wearing a bright red t-shirt, green trousers, and low-cut shoes. That red t-shirt has become one of the rather haunting details of this story, because it seems like this would have stuck out particularly in the greens and browns of the mountains, and well, yeah, and it would have been easy to spot him wearing a red t-shirt. But as we all know, that was not the case. So So the family hiked from Gatescock towards Russell Field and spent the night in the back country. The next day, on June 14th, they moved towards Spencefield, a grassy mountain meadow near the Appalachian Trail. Spencefield can look peaceful in photographs. Open grass, ridge lines, mountain air, and wide views. But the Great Smoky Mountains are, well, deceptive. Around those open meadows are dense woods, steep slopes, laurel, ravines, and thick vegetation that can hide a person very quickly. That afternoon, Dennis and several other children were playing a game. The plan was simple and innocent. They would hide in the bushes and surprise the adults as they approached. According to the commonly spread version of the story, that afternoon, Dennis and several children were playing a game. The plan was simple and innocent. They would hide behind bushes, and when the adults would approach, they would jump out and surprise them. According to the commonly repeated version of this story, the children split up, and Dennis may have taken a slightly different route than the others. Some accounts say his red shirt would have made him too visible, so he moved in a more roundabout direction to hide better. The other children jumped out as planned, but Dennis did not. At first, this may not have seemed terrifying. I mean, in a game of hiding, the obvious assumption would be that Dennis was still hiding. Maybe he had found a better spot, or maybe he had misunderstood the timing, but maybe he was also waiting for the perfect moment. His father began calling for him. Then the adults began checking nearby bushes and the edge of clearing. But Dennis did not answer, and no one saw his red shirt. No one heard him moving in the brush. Very quickly, the situation changed from a family game to an emergency. Dennis' father searched the immediate area. His grandfather eventually hiked out to report him missing. Park rangers were notified and formal search began. Then the weather turned against them. Rain moved into the area that evening, and a missing child case. And in a missing child case, rain can destroy the earliest and most important clues. So, footprints can soften and disappear. Centuries can wash away, and creeks rise, slopes become slick, dogs struggle. The searchers slow down. In Dennis's case, the rain came in at the exact moment where every hour mattered. Over the next days, the search became enormous. Rangers, rescue workers, volunteers, tracking dogs, and eventually military personnel were involved. Searchers moved from trails, ridges, drainages, creek beds, thickets, and steep mountain terrain. The search grew so large that later discussion of the case often mentioned that the number of searchers may have become a problem of its own. When too many untrained people enter a search area, possible clues can be trampled, tracks can be confused, and coordination is, let's say, it becomes rather difficult. There were reported possible footprints search area that certainly becomes almost impossible to know. No confirmed traces of Dennis was found. No body, no confirmed clothing, no final track, no answer. The strangest detail in the case came from another family elsewhere in the park. See, later retellings describe a family often identified as the Key family who reportedly heard a disturbing scream and saw a rough-looking man moving through the woods. Some versions say the man appeared to carry something over his shoulders because Dennis had been wearing a red shirt. Some people connected this sighting to him, but this detail has to be handled carefully. The sighting was not proven to be connected to the case at all, or to Dennis. The distance between the reported sighting and Spencefield was significant, especially in the Smoky Mountains, where a few miles can mean difficult, exhausting terrain. Investigations did not establish the man, the scream, or the possible object as evidence in Dennis's case. Still, that report became part of the mystery because it offered something the search itself did not: the possibility that Dennis had not simply wandered away, but had encountered someone. Well, Dennis was never found, and with all the searches and the amount and scale of this extensive search that has been conducted to try and find him, a lot of theories have emerged as to what could have happened to Dennis, and they range from different very easy and very plausible day-to-day theories to, let's say, more spooky ones, and some involving foul play. But like I mentioned before, none of this has been proven, so take all of these theories as for what they are: mere theories. I would say we jump into some of these theories right now, and maybe you can tell me which theory you think is the most plausible in this case. So, theory A: Dennis became lost and died from exposure. In this theory, many search and rescue professionals will likely consider the most realistic. Lost children do not always wander as adults expect them to. So, a frightened child might keep moving instead of staying in one place. He may hide from searchers, especially if the voices calling him belong to strangers, and he may not answer when called. He may move downhill towards water or into thicker vegetation. In the Smokies, this is especially dangerous. The forest can be so dense a small child could be only yards from the searchers and still remain unseen. Rain would have made everything worse by destroying the scent and tracks. If Dennis became wet, cold, and disoriented, his survival chances would have dropped quickly. This theory explains the sudden disappearance without requiring another person. It is tragic, but it is possible. Rain would have made everything worse by destroying scent and tracks. If Dennis became wet, cold, and disoriented, his survival chances would have dropped quickly. This theory explains sudden disappearance without requiring another person being involved. It is tragic, but it is possible. Dennis may have taken the wrong direction during the game, become lost immediately, and then been hidden by the weather and the terrain. So, what bothers me here, however, what bothers me about this theory, however, is that he had been hiding just like a few steps away from his friends and the other children, and he could have jumped out when he heard the other children jump out and scream. How much can you walk into the wrong direction when you're just hiding at the side of a trail, you know what I mean? But maybe our brains just don't want to accept that somebody can really disappear in front of your eyes. The second theory is that Dennis fell or became trapped. So, a related theory is that Dennis may not have traveled far at all. He could have slipped down a slope, fallen into a drainage, become trapped under dense bush, and suffered an injury that left him unable to call out. This would explain why he disappeared so quickly from an area near his family and friends. It would also explain why the searchers did not hear him. In the Smokies, thickets and ravines can conceal a person extremely well. A body or clothing could be missed, especially if the search area was wet, crowded, and difficult to coordinate. The weakness of this theory is the same one that troubles almost every explanation. No confirmed remains or belongings were ever found. Theory number 3. Animal involvement. So some people have suggested that an animal may have been involved. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is home to black bears and other wildlife, and animals can disturb remains after death. A bear attack or later scavenging could theoretically explain why evidence was not found, but there was no confirmed blood trail, no torn clothing, no recovered remains showing animal involvement, and no physical evidence proving an attack. This theory exists because of the wilderness setting, but the public facts do not strongly support it, and I also see why, because, if your family and friends stand next to you, let's say pretty close to you, they would have noticed a bear attacking him, especially a bear, let's be real, or like any other large enough animal that could have preyed on a 7-year-old. So, I guess this theory only could explain why tracks are missing, or like why his body and his remains are never found, but then again, no bloody trail, no torn clothing. Again, it could just be our brains trying to wrap around the fact that somebody would have to leave something behind if they just disappear, and not just nothing at all, you know what I mean? So, until now, I feel like the theory with the falling into a ravine or getting trapped is what I believe the most on, but we have two more theories to go through. So, theory number, is it 4? Yes, theory number 4 is abduction. So, the abduction theory has always lingered because Dennis disappeared in such a short window of time. He was near family, he was with other children, and he was playing a game that should have lasted only minutes. To some people it feels difficult to believe that he could have wandered so far enough, fast enough to avoid such a massive search. Supporters of this theory often point to the reported family sighting, the scream, the rough-looking man, and the possibility that he was carrying something over his shoulders. They also point to Dennis' father, who reportedly believed that his son may have been taken. But the weakness of these theories are serious. The sighting was never proven to be connected to Dennis. The distance from Spencefield to the reported sighting of this rough-looking man and the scream too difficult, and no suspect was confirmed, and no physical evidence publicly proven to be an abduction. Still, because the disappearance happened so quickly, the possibility of another person being involved never fully disappeared from public discussion, which I can understand. However, my question with the abduction would be, well, I can't exactly imagine how close the family, the parents, the adults, and the children all were to Dennis when he disappeared, because it doesn't really say. But imagine it was just like a few feet away. Wouldn't you see a rough-looking man just crouching into a bush and snatching your child up and leave? Or are the bushes so thick that you wouldn't see that? I mean, that's a question that I would have. Or you would hear somebody moving through the brush at least, wouldn't you? So, I mean, if the children were just behind him and he was taken, yeah. Well, I feel like there's a lot of things missing in every theory, but again, could just be that we can't accept the fact that somebody just vanishes into thin air. The last theory, and the one that can never miss in one of these videos, is the paranormal theories and mountain folklore. So, Dennis Martin's case is often discussed in strange disappearances communities because it has the exact elements that make this case feel almost impossible. A child in a bright red shirt, close to family, disappearing into thin air in minutes, followed by rain, failed tracking, and no remains. Some people have suggested portals, missing time, forced entities, or forces connected to the mountains. There, of course, is no evidence to these ideas, but the Smokies already carry deep folklore. Long before the national park existed, these mountains were Cherokee homeland. The Smokies are often associated with the Cherokee name. I'm not going to try to pronounce this because I will butcher it. But it is commonly translated as Land of the Blue Smoke. Now, if you know how to pronounce it, put it in the comments. Appalachian and Cherokee traditions include stories of dangerous beings. One famous Cherokee figure is the Spearfinger. We already had a story about this particular entity in stories beforehand. It is a stone-skinned witch of legend who deceived people and preyed on children. There are also stories of little people, mysterious beings associated with caves, rivers, and lonely places. None of these proves anything about Dennis, but it explains why people place this story inside a larger mountain lore. These were already mountains where people told children to not to wander and to not follow strange sounds, or not to assume the woods were empty. I also think I watched a documentary about this disappearance, and I think a lot of people also pointed to wild people, like people that live outside society in rather simple lifestyle in the forest, like feral people that could have been involved in the disappearance of Dennis. But again, that would be the abduction theory, I guess, mixed with supernatural lore. But again, it has not been proven. Yeah. So the power of Dennis Martin's case is not that it proves anything supernatural. It is that every ordinary explanation leaves a painful question. If he got lost, why was there no trace found? If he fell, where was the body? If he was taken, who took him? And if the reported sighting was unrelated, why does it feel so close to what everyone feared? Dennis Martin vanished during a family game on a June afternoon. His 7th birthday was days away. His family searched. The park searched. The rain came down. And more than 50 years later, the mountain still has not answered. What are your guys' thoughts, and what theory seems the most plausible to you? Okay guys, let's move into the second and last case for tonight. They're all rather longer cases, so with lots of theories. That's why I kept it short with 2 cases. This one, I will promise you, is quite mind-blowing. When I heard it the first time, I was flabbergasted, and I thought about it for quite a while. It didn't leave my thoughts, so buckle up, kitty cats, cause that's one hell of a case. It is Konstantinos Danny Filippidis, the skier who reappeared across the country. Konstantinos Filippidis, known as Danny. Sorry, but how do you come from Konstantinos Filippidis to Danny? Anyway, I digress. He was 49 years old in February of 2018, so not even that far away from, okay, it's 8 years. I guess I don't want to get old. Okay, never mind. He was a firefighter from Toronto, Canada, a husband and a father, and he was on an annual ski trip with other retired firemen at Whiteface Mountain in New York. Whiteface is in the Adirondacks. I hope I pronounced that correctly. It is a ski area, not a national park, but it sits on a cold mountain region where winter conditions can become dangerous quickly. Skiers can crash, leave a marked trail, fall into deep snow, become trapped in tree well, suffer a head injury, or disappear into wooded terrain. Danny was not alone. He was with friends and colleagues, people who knew him very well and would notice if he failed to return. On February 7th, 2018, Danny was skiing days, near the end of the day, he separated from the group. Reports differ slightly on why. Some say he went for one last run, others say he was going to retrieve his phone. Either way, his friends expected him back soon, but he did not return. At first, this may have seemed like a delay. Skiers can take different runs, stop at lodges, end up at different lifts, or lose track on time. But when the mountain closed and Danny was still missing, concern became alarm. His vehicle was still there, his belongings were still there. His friends did not believe he had simply walked away. A major search began. Ski patrol, police, and search and rescue crews, dogs, helicopters, and volunteers searched Whiteface Mountain and the surrounding area. Firefighters from Toronto came to help. Searchers looked for all the usual explanation for ski's disappearances. A crash, a fall, a skier trapped in snow, someone injured in the trees, a wrong turn into backcountry, or a head injury that left him unable to call for help. For 6 days, the searchers focused on Whiteface and Adirondacks. That made sense. His car was there. His belongings were there. He had been skiing there. Everything pointed back to the mountain. The story changed completely. Danny was found alive in Sacramento, California. That's so wild, like, what? He was nearly 3,000 miles away from Whiteface Mountain. He was reportedly confused and still wearing his ski clothing, including his helmet and goggles. He had apparently bought a phone and called his wife from the Sacramento area. She told him to call 911. That's so bizarre, and I will never get over this. Ever. When authorities located him, he could not clearly explain how he ended up in California and how he traveled from New York to California. He reportedly said he may have hit his head or experienced some kind of head trauma. He mentioned riding a big rig-style truck and sleeping for much of the trip. Reports say also he had gotten a haircut, bought a phone along the way. Authorities said they did not believe drugs or alcohol explained the situation, and they did not expect criminal charges. But even though Dennis was found alive, the case did not have a clean ending. The original question had been, where is Danny? Once he was found, the question became, how did he get there? So, this case is rather shockingly confusing. And of course, a lot of people, netizens, have come up with theories as to why, how, and in which ways he has gotten to California from New York wearing his ski gear. Yeah. So, as mentioned before, take these theories with a grain of salt. Some are plausible, some are wildly speculated, but all of them are just theories. Theory 1. So this one is one of the strongest ordinary theories. Skiing accidents can cause concussions or traumatic brain injuries. A person with a head injury may have been awake and mobile, but confused. They may have make irrational decisions, accept rides, wander away, or later have memory gaps. If Danny hit his head while skiing, became disoriented, and somehow left the mountain area, that could explain why he did not return to his group and why he later remembered so little. The weakness in this is that a head injury alone does not explain the full distance. It may explain confusion, but it does not explain how he crossed the country. That is why this theory often connects to the trucker ride theory, which is theory number 2. The big rig ride. Then reportedly mentioned riding a big rig. This is the most practical way to explain the distance a long-haul truck could travel from New York to California within that time frame. If Danny was confused or injured, he may have accepted a ride without fully understanding what was happening. If he slept for much of the trip, that would also explain the memory gaps. This theory answers one big question: how did he get so far? But it also creates more questions. Who was the driver? Where exactly did Danny get picked up? Why did no one contact authorities about a confused man in ski gear? Was the driver ever identified? Public reporting did not provide complete route or a full explanation, so that remains a mystery. I think this theory sounds plausible if you don't think about it too deep and start asking yourself the questions I mentioned before. Because if you find a man in ski gear, clearly he must have been confused, otherwise he wouldn't agreed to a cross-country road trip in a big rig, right? So, yeah, why didn't he alert authorities? Where is this driver and who is he? And why has he never come forward being part of such a crazy story, right? So, yeah, I think that's where it's lacking. Another theory that is trying to explain the why of this disappearance is the voluntary disappearance. Some people wondered whether Danny left intentionally and later claimed confusion. This theory appears in many missing and found cases, especially when the person travels far away and the explanation is unclear. But there are major weaknesses. Danny left behind belongings, triggered a massive search involving friends, firefighters, police, and rescue teams, and was found still dressed in ski gear. There was no clear public motive, and authorities did not publicly accuse him of staging anything. This theory is possible in the broadest sense, but the known facts make it difficult to prove. Well, you have to imagine, he was found in ski gear, he bought a phone and called his wife and got a haircut. That all kind of doesn't make any sense. I mean, if he wanted to disappear, he would have snuck back to the hotel, changed, took in all his belongings. I mean, he had a car. Get into that car and just disappeared, right? Not in ski gear, not with a helmet, not with goggles. And when did he get that haircut if he was still wearing the helmet? Did he put it back on? Anyway, it's lacking a lot of plausible reasons as to how or why he would have voluntarily left without his belongings and his car in ski gear. Well, we have two more theories left to discuss, which one of them is foul or coercion. So another theory is that someone took advantage of Danny while he was vulnerable. He had a head injury or was confused, and someone could have offered him a ride, transported him, or influenced his movements, would explain why he moved so far without a clear memory. But there is no public evidence proving a kidnapping or a criminal coercion. No suspect was publicly identified, and authorities did not announce that they believed that he had been abducted. This theory remains speculative, and in my opinion also the weakest theory of them all. I mean, if you want to abduct someone, there must be a motive, there must be a possibility, there must be a reason, and there must be an opportunity. Now, the fact that he wrote allegedly in a big rig could be the possibility, like the opportunity. But then why was he found alive, calling his wife? I mean, he didn't have any belongings. He was confused. What would they have wanted to abduct him for? Probably like trafficking him, but he was found alive, calling his wife, still in his ski gear. He didn't have any valuables to claim. Maybe they wanted to extract his bank information or something like that, but then again, a confused man in ski gear. Also, organ trafficking, but then again, he was found alive. Did he escape? I mean, that's a whole other theory. But anyway, I feel like this is the weakest one because there is no motive and also not really a very good opportunity, in my opinion. But what do you guys think about this theory? Our last theory, again, of course, is our beloved paranormal theories and missing time. So in Danny's case, this is one that almost forces people into paranormal jokes and theories. A skier disappears in New York and reappears 6 days later in California, still wearing ski clothing, with missing memory. It sounds like an urban legend, let's be real. Online discussions have suggested teleportation, alien abduction, missing time, or a glitch in the matrix, or glitch in the reality. These ideas are not supported by evidence, of course, but the geography makes this story feel unreal. The distance is so extreme that even ordinary explanations sound strange. I mean, I guess you would all agree. My god, how often do they want me to pronounce this word? The Adirondacks also have their own wilderness atmosphere. Deep woods, winter isolation, old mountain legends, strange place names, and long tradition of stories about people getting lost in harsh terrain. But unlike the Smokies or Yosemite cases, Danny's mystery does not need Asian folklore to feel strange. The map is enough. New York to California, 6 days, ski clothes, no clear memory. Then he survived, but being found did not solve anything at all. It only changed the mystery from a disappearance into an impossible journey and impossible story. Well, what should I say? These have all been crazy theories that, in a sense, are plausible and at the same time bring so much more questions to the surface. But I guess there are some things in this world we will just unfortunately never know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's cases and this video. I will leave all of the show notes down below so that you see where I got my information from creating these 2 cases for you guys and researching them. And I hope you enjoyed this format. Please let me know in the comments below if you didn't fall asleep yet. And I hope I will see you guys in my next video so you